The 4 stock images shown in sequence herewith and now embody similar contemporary, typical and ubiquitous posters viewable throughout all major cities and towns in Australia, wherever there are metropolitan, suburban or small-town hairstylists and beauty salons, given regional and national linguistic and cultural variation worldwide. All analogous posters emphasise the High Malar without exception. It is usually accentuated as a soft calligraphic swoop, defining and refining the cheek. Sometimes it's natural, sometimes enhanced, ultimately perhaps totally added to the face via expert quality makeup, skilled analogue, or these days, fine digital retouching. These representative posters were all photographed locally within Sydney, Australia, and they are stock portraits purchasable endlessly online today. All the posters replicate universal standards or hallmarks of beauty and glamour, modernising the ideal in small, medium and large window studio doors and wall posters, servicing chic contemporary decoration whilst coddling attraction. We experience similar every day, mostly in peripheral view, a glimpse subsumed into the vast mnemonic chamber of our subconscious. However, we rarely assess commercial imagery observationally in critical depth, wherein even a cursory analysis may account for all stock poster portraits encoding key elements signifying modern and postmodern beauty. Every one of these portraits intentionally comprise regular facial features, dimensionally balanced, bearing reciprocal sensuality, soft lit forming elegant shadow to highlight ratios across unblemished skin, digitally retouched, emphasising bone structure, particularly the cheekbones, eyes sharp and lips fulsome, eyeliner underpinning a reflexive, pensive gaze. Prior to the advent of modern photography, there are no historical or evidential commentaries regarding any depicted or sculpted entity, neither any noted human being, where the High Malar is referred or used as a signifier, let alone a mandatory coda leading a set of co-signifiers representing a skinny figure as an ideal condition or hallmark of beauty. Indeed, for many cultures to this day, living large is still considered to be a sign of robust health, wealth and security. Now look again at these portraits without commentary, so typical of purpose-built, industrially produced, stylized imagery, each portrait inclusive of enhanced prominent cheekbones, the High Malar. The face of the modern era refracted through studio and locational lighting via the camera pentaprism or direct-to-screen casts a vacant photogenic gaze, deep large eyes, pale complexion, full lips, straight medium-sized nose, pared back oval ears, white teeth, long neck, almond-shaped visage and High Malar of symmetrical features. The zyggomat or malar bone shapes the prominence of the facial cheek. Again, there appear to be zero historical cultural records anywhere of high cheekbones accepted as a distinguishing feature of beauty prior to the advent of photography and thence to the movies. Dramatised cheekbones were intimated early by Julia Margaret Cameron, the English photographer, in her naive, if progressively styled portrait of Mrs. Herbert Duckworth, 1867. Cameron's portrait was criticised by the mostly male photographic cognoscenti of the day as a stylistically naive portrait because she did not manage her photographic image according to established painterly pictorial norms. Indeed, this portrait was only widely recovered as important when modern analytic photographic histories were being written mid to late 20th century. Cameron worked determinedly with the immediacy of depictive apprehension made possible using a camera. A wise neophyte, she toyed with photography's authenticity and accuracy of detail, unidentified in her time as compositional tools, such as depth of focus and motion blur. Cameron's image narrative discovered novel photographic ways of securing a different kind of still photograph, a stillness that is momentary, engaging a viewer to look reflexively, linger longer, in subliminal anticipation of a movement continuing, as we do with optically affected painted portraits such as Vermeer, perhaps a drawing of breath. So lifelike. She was exploring new ways of documenting a form of pictorial narrative closer to human mnemonics, beyond customary monumental illusions of staged, compositionally endorsed photographic imagery of her era, imitative of figurative painting and sculpture. Compare Julia Margaret Cameron's portrait of Mrs. Duckworth, 1867, with a movie still portrait made 115 years later of Sean Young enacting the replicant Rachel in Ridley Scott's 1982 movie Blade Runner. Similarly illuminated with an emphatic malar, regular facial features, long neck and a vacant gaze, Cameron's portrait was not a typical portrait of the era. It intimated a new photographic aesthetic using light and shade to pick up on bone structure and a momentary stillness, implicit of time, in suspension, caused, I think, by an optically traced image more than a fully haptic study could show. Sean Young did not actually reappear in the sequel Blade Runner 2049, released in the year 2017, except for 30 seconds of a cameo VPX image grafted from Sean Young's superb performance as her replicant in the original Blade Runner movie, an absolute machinic aesthetic. I scream, you scream, we all scream for skinny on screen. Slender and slenderer, honed to perfection, or rather into exacting compliance with requisite body shape and measurement, prepared for styling and performance along the catwalk, runway, on location, or in the photographic studio. Whether ethical or not, within professional photography studios, it is recognised deadpan that high cheekbones and skinny models blossom in photographic images, no matter if its model are youthful, middle-aged and beyond, or whatever gender. It's a truism shaped by lived and historic experience taken in-house, pragmatically rather than weaponised. Skinny, healthy people who may appear characterless in life tend to explode on screen, lending faceted features and a slender figure to stills and movies, whereas individuals of a fuller constitution may be brimming with health, incredibly fit, beautiful to encounter in life, but just don't photograph as effectively as slender and flat, faceted modelling clothing and figure composed in calligraphic configuration, seared softly by light, sculpted by tonality, and starved by mirage. In the year 2000, the British Medical Association, BMA, publication, Eating Disorders, Body Image and the Mass Media, was the first accredited complete medical report unequivocally linking anorexia and bulimia to media images, recommending a more responsible editorial attitude towards the depiction of extremely thin women as role models and should portray a more realistic range of body images. It took 10 years until 2010 for fashion and entertainment industries to purposefully act upon repeated recommendations on inclusivity and diversity from the BMA and similar reports, globally engaging a public conversation, urging the fashion and media industry to attend to medical and psychological effect of eating disorders and body image, particularly amongst young females. At the close of the first decade of the new millennium, It was not only body shape that the fashion industry was prepared to represent, but a full range of inclusivity claims. Fast forward to 2023, following 4 years of enthusiastic effort from the highest levels of fashion industry to apply and motivate change in terms of policy action and inclusivity and diversity from management to the studio, modelling, audience and marketing. Statistics worldwide show a substantial percentage rise in eating disorder cases, with Asian and Middle Eastern countries have risen. Also, the COVID lockdowns are being blamed for consistent rise in global statistics beyond 2019 to date. Meet Eden Wood, a 6-year-old American beauty queen. Perhaps the Malar had its heyday in early monochrome photography as a key marker of the beautiful. Now the High Malar and its antecedents are a chromatic vanity, broaching a fair question: how long does the Malar hang around? It is ubiquitous. It heralded, if it didn't entirely cause, a purging of appetite to fit the casting couch, a constant fixture on the wall and window poster of hairstylists and beauty salons everywhere. But then perhaps the High Malar is fading now, comatose on a fully chromatic bed. Now meet Eden Wood, an 18-year-old American reality TV show actress. To be frank, I am uncertain what will happen regarding our photographic obsession with the High Malar in the near future and whatever follows. My research purpose has been to widen the field of causation, trusting in good-hearted family support, qualified medical, psychological and psychiatric expertise to test and establish the right mix of remedial and medical treatment that may assist sufferers of eating disorders to survive and stabilise well. Here is the supermodel's model, Grace Jones, 75 years of age. The photograph made of light and its absence seared to a flat surface. Our extension of materiality and desire continues a cycle of consumption and expurgation whole. Beyond a state of irresolute anxiety, there is a slender consideration of a bloated industry reshaping the body by means of surgery, starvation diets, and obsessive exercise, succeeding and failing in waves to deliver on promises of wholesome health, fitness, and self-esteem. Health, well-being, or wellness are industries like any other that survive on maximisation of their own growth, profit, and concealment of a socially massive, steadfast focus on the vanishing point of the beautiful, secured only by a deeply sublimated desire to become photogenic. Vogue recreated Twiggy's 1967 shoot 56 years later in 2023. You, the observer, can figure out yourself the age of a young Twiggy and her mature self. Today, aged 65 and with her own clothing collection for Marks and Spencer's online, she's sitting in the expensively furnished mansion flat she shares with her actor husband, Lee Lawson. She's still a size 10 and still blessed with good cheekbones. David Wigg from the Daily Mail, Australia, 2014.